Tectonic politics is about global political risk, and we can think of that as threats to market production and exchange that arise from collective power, from state or social power. Political risk today is the fastest rising risk of any kind, with the possible exception of cyber risks, which are entirely new. And for some companies, it's the biggest risk of any kind that they face. Yet companies are poorly equipped to think about, understand, and respond to this risk. Political risk takes four forms. The power to destroy states or challenges to state power can destroy value. States can seize value through nationalization or default on debt. States can regulate and tax businesses within their territory, and states can block or make more costly flows across borders. Those are the four forms that political risk takes. For decades, political risks of all kinds fell. The story of globalization was the story of the rise of markets as a consequence of the decline of political barriers and obstacles to global activity. The political risk tide fell, and a lot of swimmers jumped in, exposed themselves to these declining risks, thinking it was safer to do so. And now, today, many major political risks are rising very rapidly and catching a lot of swimmers out there. Global markets are redistributing wealth and therefore power from the West to the non-West, and in particular to China. That transition is creating new risks and threats of economic and even military conflict of a kind we haven't seen for decades. Global markets are also redistributing power and influence within states, especially Western states, creating losers of globalization who are revolting in a populist way against the story of ever greater openness. That's the story of Brexit and the story of Trump. And finally, and I think most intriguingly, we are seeing the rapid rise of new social risks. These are societal, not state, but societal demands for ever higher standards of corporate ethical conduct in every aspect of their operations, the way they treat labor, the way they treat the environment, the way they treat communities, and so on, in other parts of the world. This is propelled by a widening circle of empathy towards strangers. It comes at the moment mainly from Western civil societies, but those civil societies are using consumer boycotts, disinvestment, in some cases refusing to work for companies whose perceived ethical standards are lower than they should be. Together, these three sources of rising political risk create a complex and bewildering environment. Companies do not yet have the mindsets and the skill sets to deal with them effectively, and therefore they are making mistakes. They need to change the way they think about business.